ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. After having studied the entire Bhagavad Gita in detail over a period of 90 sessions, from the last week we have embarked upon studying together this Vedanta Prakarana called as Vivekachudamani. Vivekachudamani is one of the most popular Prakarana Granthas, Vedanta Prakarana Granthas. Of course, Bhagavad Gita also talked about the very summary or the very crux of the teaching of Vedanta or the Upanishadic teachings, the summary of which was Bhagavad Gita. But here, Vedanta Prakaranas specifically deal with no other topic. In Bhagavad Gita, at least, we had so many other aspects, so many other topics were talked about in addition to self-knowledge or whatever is the message of the Upanishads was given along with so many other topics. But here in Prakarana Granthas, exactly what the Vedantic teaching is, what Vedanta teaches regarding the true nature, the nature of the self, the nature of the Jagat, the Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, Swarupam is very, very clearly defined and in a methodical manner, in a very, very methodical manner, all these aspects of the entire teaching of Vedanta are discussed in Prakaranas. And as I said, one of the most popular of the Prakaranas is Adi Shankaracharya written this Vivekachudamani. And of course, we have already seen that, Tattva Bodha and Atma Bodha are considered to be the basic primers of Vedantic teaching, the Vedanta teaching, basic primers. And also we have, most of us have studied that because, we already have it in the ebook form on our own Chitrapur Mutt website. We have done it, we have studied with our teachers, we have studied these texts together. So all this, in addition, Vivek Chudamani, as I said in the last session, is nothing but the same Tattva Bodha expanded on a very, very wide canvas. The very same Tattva Bodha which is given in about 42 verses of teaching, Vivek Chudamani goes on to expand that topic and uses almost 580 verses to give the entire teaching of what Vedanta has to say. And Vedanta has basically these 6 or 7 headings of teachings. One is what is Jiva Swarupa? Secondly, what is Ishvara Swarupa? What is Jagat Swarupa? What is this bandha or the samsara that all the jivas feel, especially the human jivas feel? What is moksha? What is freedom from this bandha? And what are the sadhanas for this moksha? These are the 6 topics that are dealt with in all the Upanishads in the entire Vedanta. And Vivekachudamani also discusses all these 6 topics. But as I said in the last session, this time we are not going to discuss all the 580 verses because it is going to take another probably 90 or 100 sessions, which we don't want to drag it for that long. And so we are going to study only 108 selected verses from this text from Vivekachudamani. And as I'm going to discuss the particular verse, I'm going to name the verse number which you people can see in your books which you have in front of you as to which verse is being talked about. Now, in the last session itself, we talked in detail about the Mangala Charanam or the invocatory verse which Adi Shankaracharya has actually composed for getting the blessings of his Guru and Ishvara, which we are not going to go into detail again. And again, what is Viveka Chudamani? Viveka is what? Chudamani is what? What is the meaning of these two words? That also we saw in quite a detail in the last session. Chudamani means the crest jewel or a head ornament which is very, very prominently seen. And what is the meaning of Viveka? Viveka means that discriminative knowledge, that knowledge which is got out of discrimination and discerning, whatever knowledge is got. And what is that knowledge? That is got after discrimination or after Viveka. Viveka Janya Jnanam, it is called as. What is this Viveka Janya Jnanam? Viveka Janya Jnanam is what is talked about in the Upanishads in the form of who am I? What is my real nature? Am I this body, mind, sense complex that I am considering myself to be? This we already saw in Bhagavad Gita as to Lord Krishna explaining as to you're not the body, mind, sense complex, but you are that Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Atmaiti. Right from the second chapter, Bhagwan Krishna has been talking about it. And here also in Viveka Chudamani also, ultimately the message that is going to be given is, all this teaching, that knowledge that I get out of this discrimination or viveka is what is my true nature? Who am I? As a jiva, who am I? What is my real nature? What is this jagat that I am interacting with? What is the nature of this jagat? How real is this jagat? What is the nature of that Ishvara who is actually taking care of both the jiva and jagat? The one who is a niyanta of both the jiva and jagat. What is that Ishvara? What is the tattvam of Ishvara? Are the jiva, the jagat, and Ishvara different from each other? Or are they one and the same essentially? All these things are going to be talked about in Vivekachudamani in this 580 verses, out of which we are going to select only 108 teaching verses, which is sufficient. These 108 verses are sufficient enough to give us a very brief introduction to what the text is going to talk about. And later, those of us who are interested can go in through the entire text because there are commentaries available. One of the most beautiful commentaries on Viveka Chudamani is written by Chandrasekhara Bharati, that the previous pontiff of Sringeri Mutt. It is written in this commentary is written in Sanskrit, and one of the most beautiful commentaries which can give in a very crisp and clear manner as to what each verse of Adi Shankaracharya really means. And every time we start these sessions, we are going to start with the Dhyana Shloka, which this case, in any Prakarana Grantha, when the author wants to invoke the grace of his Guru and Ishvara, whichever verse he writes is called as the invocation verse or the Mangala Charana Shloka. And though we saw it in detail, every time we start the session, we are going to chant this verse. Also, we also want to invoke the grace of the Guru and also the Shastra and also Ishvara in completing our study successfully of this particular text. So let us chant together the Mangala Charana Shloka, the first Shloka number 1 in the main Vivekachudamani. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. After the Mangala Charanam Shloka, the text Vivekachudamani, first 5 or 6 verses, in detail talks about the importance of human birth. And we saw in the last session the third verse in the main Vivek Chudamani book. I'm going to just summarize it for the sake of continuity of this session also. It says, Durlabham trayame deha devanugraha hetukam manusyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshrayah. So this is the third verse of main Vivekachudamani, which has been taken here as the first teaching verse. Now, what does this verse say? It praises the human birth. That I am born as a human being is something which is the very grace of the Lord. It is out of the punyas that I have accrued over many, many millions of lives that now in this life I am born as a human being. Why is the Manushya Janma considered to be so precious? There are two reasons for this. First one is Manushya Janma is the only Janma, Manushya is the only Jiva where there is a free will that I can decide upon. I can choose as to what I want. Some amount of free will. How much free will we have is not the question here. There is always a kind of a debate about fate versus free will. Everything is fate, the fatalists say. Everything is free will, there's no fate at all. That's what the people who are rationalists say. But the thing is, it's always a mixture of, Deva Anugraha, that is the fate or Prarabdha, and free will. It does not mean that a human being does not have free will. He has. Definitely, there is a free will which I can utilize, which I can use to make a choice to choose. Human organism is the only being, it's the only living being which has the precious faculty of choice making. Supposing you see the lower animals, whether the lower animals or plants, they do not have the capacity to make a choice. They're programmed. They're programmed to protect their territory. They're programmed to protect themselves, programmed to eat, programmed to grow, and to propitiate. That's it. Other than that, they do not have a free will. And our Shastra says that even in the higher lokas, we have already seen in Bhagavad Gita that there are 14 lokas, Manusha Loka being the central here. There are 7 lokas which are more subtle than the Manusha lokas, and there are 7 grosser lokas, 6 higher lokas and 7 grosser lokas are there. Totally, there are 14 lokas in which there are various jivas who take birth in those particular lokas depending upon their particular karma phala. Because of their particular karma phala, they take birth in those particular lokas. And our scriptures say that even in the higher lokas, like the devas or pitrus or karma devas, gandharvas, whatever lokas you have, those 6 lokas which are subtler and so called above our manusha loka, there also they do not have free will. All the jivas are bhoga jivas. All the lokas are bhoga bhumis, where a person, where a jiva only works out the prarabdha karma in the form of either punya karma or papa karma. Manusha loka is the only loka, Manusha janma is the only janma where a person has got a choice. And on what basis is this choice made? How does a human being make his choice? There is another faculty for the buddhi of this human being called as abstract thinking, a capacity to discern, the capacity to discriminate. Now, with the help of this capacity to discern, to discriminate, there is a possibility of a choice. Because to choose something, I should know what is right, what is wrong. I should be able to weigh the pros and cons and take a particular decision. And if I have to take a particular decision and make a particular choice, I have to have this faculty of discerning, discrimination, and abstract thinking, which is there only in equivalent to human jivas. That is what is said here. Therefore, only for human beings, we have different pursuits. We have all heard, these are the basics of the teaching of Vedas, that we have 4 purusharthas. All our pursuits, all our human pursuits can be divided mainly into 4 purusharthas. Purushartha means what? A human pursuit. Because we have got the free will, because a human being has the capacity to discern and discriminate, we have got this capacity for human pursuits. And what are these human pursuits that are there? The four purusharthas or four human pursuits are talked about, which are called as dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma purushartha, artha purushartha, kama purushartha, moksha purushartha. And our scriptures say, same thing is said by Lord Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita. Majority of the human beings are only interested in dharma, not sorry, in artha and kama purusharthas. Majority of the human beings are only interested in artha purushartha, kama purushartha. What is artha purushartha? Acquiring things for the sake of my security. All the time I am going to make myself more and more secure, because that sense of insecurity is so much in us that we want to acquire more and more, get more and more, derive more and more from this world at any cost, whether dharmically or adharmically. At any cost we want to acquire things, and we want to make ourselves very, very safe and feel secure. This search for security, this going after security, is what is called as Artha Purushartha. Not only that, I have a lot of desires to fulfill, lot of desires, because I'm unfulfilled most of the time. I want to fulfill myself by acquiring this, by doing this, by doing this. All the time, I want this, I want this, I don't want this, I want to become. So, this constant striving for getting something, for becoming something, for reaching somewhere, to make myself secure all the time, these two are therefore artha and kama purusharthas. And then artha kama is the majority of the human beings search for this. That's why Lord Krishna said, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. There are very few people, very few individuals who ultimately start realizing that what have I ultimately got out of this artha kama purushartha. Yes, I have been coming again and again, being born again and again. I don't know what I was born as in my last life. I don't know what I'm going to be in my next life. But one thing I know is, if I'm here in this life, in this body, I must have come again and again, and I'm here. And I'm going through the same problems of samsara all the time, what Arjuna went through in the form of his Vishada. All the time, trying to fulfill my artha purushartha, trying to fulfill my kama purushartha, all the time feeling insecure, all the time feeling unfulfilled, but never happy. And what is it that I want? I want sukha to the exclusion of dukha. But how successful am I? All the time I'm holding on to something which is slipping away from my hands. I hold on to the world, and the world seems to be slipping away from my hands. If I'm happy this moment, I cannot hold on to that moment of sukha. I cannot hold on to that happiness all the time. Very soon, every minute, the world is changing, and I am having a roller coaster ride of sukha and dukkha. And a very rare individual jiva starts wondering, is this all the very purpose of life? Is this all the purpose of life? That I am born, I run after artha, I run after kama. In spite of doing everything, I don't get that feeling of security. Every time I feel that everything is slipping out of my hands. Is this security permanent? No. Do I get the sense of sukha and happiness permanently? No. Is this desire one after another, the desire of becoming, desire of fulfilling something, is it ever going to end? By the time I fulfill one or two desires, there are 100 more desires which are arising. Is there any way that I can say that I have fulfilled all my desires and then I'm happy now? No, there is no human being who can say that I am happy, I have fulfilled all my artha kama purusharthas. So a time comes when such a discerning person, out of experience, constantly seeing that all these things, all these karmas that I do, all these actions that I do, all the phalam that I get out of my artha kama purushartha is nothing but so ephemeral, so temporary, constantly slipping out of my hands. Now there must be something in this life. There must be something which is going, by knowing which is going to give me that kind of a feeling, not a feeling, that security which I'm really looking for, that permanent nature, the permanent happiness, that which is lasting happiness, that which is the immortality that I'm looking for. I'm looking for immortality. I don't want to be mortal. I don't want to be insecure. I'm looking for insecurity. I don't want anything temporary. I want that permanent thing. I don't want to be unhappy. I want to be happy. But this is not happening. So, is there an answer somewhere for all these things? Is there something that I'm missing in life? And is there something somebody can tell me that there is a possibility of finding this permanent source of happiness or sukha? It is possible. That search for that permanent source of sukha, and that source which is going to tell me, look, you are not this samsari jiva, but you are something much more than that. You are that very Sukha Swarupa, Nitya Swarupa, Mukta Swarupa Atma. You don't have to go looking for this anywhere else. You only need to understand how to see yourself, how to look at yourself. And this particular interest in trying to find out what is the truth of this entire human living that I'm living as a human. What is the purpose of my birth? Why have I come here? What is it that I'm going to achieve? If I'm here, I must have come again and again, and I'm going to come back again and again. What is the purpose of this life? Is it only just to live those 60 or 70 years and then just acquire a few things and then just go away? Or is there something else? Is there something else which can make me understand what really I am? Is there something which can remove my confusion and delusion? This kind of an interest, this kind of a serious capacity to think and to try to find answers for these questions, this is called as mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam means the desire to be free from dukkha. Right now, what am I? I'm a dukhi. I'm incomplete. I am all the time feeling insecure. And I want to find a permanent solution for this kind of a vishada of mine. Like Arjuna wanted a permanent solution, Shreyas, for his vishada. And he surrendered to the Guru Lord Krishna and asked for this Shreyas. What is it that is going to give me complete freedom from my sorrow and vishada? So that's why it seems in there is an Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad, in which we see Devarishi Narada, who goes to his guru Sanat Kumara and tells him, "Hey Sanat Kumara, hey Guru, I know 64 Vidyas." After all, Devarshi Narada, he is the epitome of all the Laukika Vidyas. He says, I know I am an exponent and an expert in 64 Vidyas, and he rattles off those 64 Vidyas. And I know all this, but still aham shochami. I am sorrowful. I have sorrow. And I have heard tarati shokam atmavit. I have heard that a person who understands what is the nature of this jiva, a person who understands who I am, what this jagat is, what this Ishvara is, a person who understands this tarati shokam, he crosses over this shoka, crosses over this samsara. So, hey Guru, hey Sanat Kumara, can you teach me that? Can you teach me that Vidya by which I can cross over my samsara of dukkha? If Devarishi Narada can have this kind of an insecurity and incompleteness, a purnatvam, what about people like us? And so, the desire to get out of this kind of a vishada, the desire to get out of this dukkha which I'm facing, the desire to get out of this impermanent dependence upon the impermanent world, there must be something permanent. There must be something which is the adhishtanam of this entire temporary fleeting universe. What is it? What is it that holding on to which, what is it knowing which I can really get out of my dukkha? This deep interest is called as mumukshutvam. That is why Lord Krishna said, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. One very rare individual will try to go after finding answers for these questions. Such a person who wants to find answers for his dukkha, a person who wants to be free from this samsara, free from this bondage, such a person is called as a mumukshu. And what here the verse says is, manushatvam, being born as a manusha alone is not sufficient. One should have the mumukshutvam also, the capacity to understand that what I am now is a very, very sad version of me. And I should know what really I am, and then I want to get out of this bondage of samsara. I want to get out of this dukkha, this deep desire, moktum ichha mumuksha, the deep desire for freedom from my dukkha. This is called as mumuksha. And Bhagwan says here, Shankaracharya says here, mumukshutvam is also something which is daivanugraha hetukam. It is out of so many janmas of punya that I have accumulated spiritual punya sufficiently enough to make me a mumukshu, to make me desire for moksha. Otherwise, I will start going only after arthakama. That I want to have a desire for dharma and moksha, be a mumukshu itself is what is called as deva anugraha. So here he says, mumukshutvam is also daivanugraha hetukam. What is mumukshutvam? That I want to be free. I'm not happy as I am. I don't like this kind of a dependence on ever changing world for my security. I want to know what is that permanent source of security and happiness. And what can give me this? This knowledge, this discerning knowledge, this viveka can be found only in our scriptures. That is why people who want to attend Vedanta classes are very, very few, because it requires a lot of commitment, a lot of time, and also I'm not used to thinking the way Vedanta makes me think. My thinking is exactly opposite to what our scriptures are trying to tell me. And therefore, the interest in knowing these things, interest in the scriptural study is very, very less, very, very less. As Krishna himself said, out of those mumukshus also, one very rare one knows me. One very rare one understands me as a jnani bhakta. So, manushatvam is also daivanugraha hetukam. Mumukshutvam is also daiva anugraha hetukam. Spiritual punya. Whenever I accrue any punya, it can be of two types. Punya can be material punya. I may be born in a situation where I have everything and I don't have to bother about anything, sukha, all the way material sukha, and I don't even think of these things. I don't even think of Vedanta. I don't even think of that there is something that our scriptures are trying to say. I am totally blind because I'm completely materially very, very comfortable. This is one type of punya, material type of punya. There is another type of punya called as a spiritual punya. Spiritual punya is what? That I get interested in this thing. I want to find out what is it that I'm here for? What is the purpose of this life? If there are these millions of jivas like me struggling here, what is the struggle because of? Why is it that the human jiva is suffering so much? Why is it that the other jivas are born the way they are born? What is the answer? What is the solution? This kind of a deep kind of thinking and a desire to understand what it is, this is called as mumukshutvam. And as a mumukshu, I have to become a jignasu. Lord Krishna said in the 7th chapter, isn't it? If you want to know me, tattvataha, you must become a jignasu bhakta. What did he say? Artha bhakta, artharthi bhakta, jignasu bhakta, and ultimately jnani bhakta. Who is an artha bhakta, artharthi bhakta? The artha kama purushartha people who are after artha kama are artha bhaktas and artharthi bhaktas. Just wanting to have some material benefits, and that's it, finish. God is meant only to fulfill my material desires and needs, nothing more than that. Who is a jignasu? Lord Krishna says that the one who wants to know me tattvataha. the one who wants to know what is the nature of Jiva, what is the nature of Jagat, what is the name of Ishvara. The one who wants to know this, he is a Jignasu Bhakta. So a Mumukshu has to convert himself into a Jignasu. What is the meaning of this? A person who wants to be free from this bondage of samsara has to understand what our scriptures are going to talk about, the method of getting rid of this samsara. So I should become jignasu. Jnatum ichha is jignasa, the desire to know. The desire to be free has to be followed by the desire to know, which is called as jignasa. And how do I know? I have to surrender to the Shastra, our scriptures. But can I independently study the Shastra? I cannot independently study the Shastra because the language in which the Shastra talks about these things is very, very cryptic. Shastra is the only pramana. Shastra means our scriptures. Vedas. Vedas are called as Shastra. Vedas include Veda Purva and Veda Anta. When we say Veda, Vedanta, Veda Purva, all of them, we can use the general term Vedas. We have to resort, we have to surrender to the Vedas, to our scriptures, to find answers to my mumukshutvam, and I have to know. And how do I know? I cannot do independent study because the way the Shastra, the way Vedanta Shastra, the way Vedas put forward this knowledge is in a very cryptic way, and I need a guru to unfold the teachings of the Shastra to me. Therefore, the third one he says, Mahapurusha Samshraya. I'm going over it again, though I have explained this verse last time. Vivekachudamani is an introduction to Vedanta, and we have to have our basics right. And that's why I told you in the last session itself that I'm going to go slow. I'm not going to go in that speed with which I went in Bhagavad Gita. Probably later on we can, but in the initial first few verses, we have to take them very, very slowly and understand. So if I have the anugraha of God, Daivanugraha Hetukam, if Manushya Janma is because of my spiritual punya, anugraha, or if it's because of the grace of the Lord, Mumukshutvam also is the grace of Lord. And if I have got Mahapurusha Samshraya, see, I may be a human being, born as a human being, but I may not have any interest in the scriptures. I may not have any interest in these things. So Mumukshatvam is not there. Manushatvam is there, Mumukshatvam is there, but I may not have a guru to unfold this. I try to study the Shastra independently and I don't understand what is being said. I find a lot of controversies. That is why Bhagwan Shankaracharya says in the Mundaka Upanishad Bhashyam, he says that Shastrajnaha api Brahma Vicharam Swatantrena na kuryat. He says Brahma Vichara, or this study of the scriptures, should not be done independently by anybody. Even though he is a Shastrajna, a person may be a scholar, he may be a language scholar, he may be a Sanskrit scholar, but even then, what is actually being told in the Vedas, in Vedanta, may not be understood very clearly, and it requires a Mahapurusha. Here, Mahapurusha Samshraya means association with a Guru. Mahapurusha is a Guru. Why is a Guru called Mahapurusha? Because it is a Guru who has learnt through Sampradaya. From his Guru. That is why we say, Sadashiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. There's a whole parampara, one after another, Guru to Shishya, Guru to Shishya, Guru to Shishya. This whole parampara has come, and my Guru would have learned from his Guru as to how to present the Shastra. Therefore, Mahapurusha Samshraya is also Daivanugraha, that I am a born a human being. I have interest in finding solutions for my insecurity and for my dukkha and for my samsara. At the same time, I have got an exposure to the Shastra and to the Guru. That is why it is said that, for any person to go into the study of our scripture, Shastra, four types of kripa are necessary. Four types of blessings are necessary. What are they? Ishvara Kripa. Same thing. to be a Manushya, to be a Mumukshu, and have a Guru who can unfold the Shastra to me, it is Ishvara Kripa. It is the blessing of Ishvara. Then we should have Shastra Kripa. The Shastra should make itself available to me. There are so many, there are so many jnanis who probably have shelves and shelves of these Shastra books in their houses, but their own children may not be interested in that. They would not have even opened one book and seen. Why? Because Shastra Kripa is not there. The Shastra also has to bless me, that it has to open itself to me. It has to show itself to me. It has to be available to me. It is not available for everybody. So Ishvara Kripa is in the form of what? Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, and providing a Guru, Mahapurusha Samshraya. Then there should be a Shastra Kripa, blessing from the Shastra. This Shastra, which is going to take me out, which is going to really transform me from a samsari to a mukta purusha, that Shastra should also have that kind of a blessing upon me. Shastra Kripa. Then the third one is Guru Kripa. The Guru has to be there. There may not be a Guru. I'm interested. I want to know, but I may not find the right Guru who is able to use the Shastra Pramana. Because Shastra is what? Shastra is a pramana. Shastra is a means of knowledge. And that means of knowledge can be taught only by a guru. See, Laukika Vidya you take. You take the Vidya of, say, physics or maths or music or dance. It may be available in the Shastras. In Natya Shastra, it may be available. Sangeeta Shastra, it may be available. Ganita Shastra, Shastra is available. But then, don't I need a guru to open up the Shastra and teach me? Even at the level of PhD, you have got a guide who has to guide you and tell you how to use this. So, if our Laukika Vidyas require a guru to open up the Shastra and to make us understand, what about Atmajnana? What about our scriptures, sacred scriptures? What about our Vedas? So, Guru Kripa is most third very important blessing. Lastly, Atma Kripa. What is Atma Kripa? All the three may be there, but I may not be interested. I may not be interested. See, these things, our Chitrapur Mutt has arranged it. Our respected Swamiji has arranged these kind of sessions to go on. Vedanta Vichara should go on. Vedanta Chintana should go on. That is his purpose of having these kind of sessions. But then, and it is meant for everybody. It is there all over. But then it all depends on who's interested. Am I interested in making use of it? Am I interested in listening to it? Atma Kripa. Everything is there, but I am not interested in listening to it. I am not interested in knowing it. I want to keep my eyes closed. I want to keep my ears closed, like an ostrich kind of a philosophy. If that is there, nobody can help me. Therefore, all these four kripas, four blessings are absolutely important for the study of Shastra. And in the first verse, that is in the third verse, what did Bhagwan Shankaracharya say? He said that Daivanugraha etukam durlabham yetatrayam. These are very, very rare. All three together. You are born a human being. At the same time, you are seriously interested in finding a solution for your samsara, samsaritvam, and at the same time you have the shastra available to you, you have a guru available to you. This three together is very, very rare. And in the next verse, in the fourth verse, which we just started last time, what does he say? Labdhva kathanchinnara janma durlabham tatrapi pumstvam shutipara yasvatma muktau nayate tamudhadhihi sahyatmaha swam vinihantya sadgrahat. So here he says in this is the fourth verse of the main Vivekachudamani. Now what does he say? Labdhva kathanchit narajanma durlabham. As I said last time, 86 lakhs of jivas are there. And to be born as a human being is 1 in 86 lakhs chances. And the very fact that I'm born as a human being in this life itself is a punya that I have got. I have got this punya. Being born. Kathanchit narajanma durlabham. Somehow I have managed to get this narajanma. which is absolutely durlabha, which is a great chance by which tatrapi pumstvam. Pumstvam here, the vachyartha or the word to word meaning of pumstvam is manliness, being a male. But here, in this context, pumstvam does not mean being a male or a female. It does not refer to the gender. It refers to the strength of the mind and the capacity of the human intellect to persist with this kind of a moksha purushartha. Bhagwan Krishna said, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru. May you have Purushartha Nishchaya. Arjuna, you first decide what is it that you want. Are you going to go after Arthakama Purusharthas, or is Moksha your Purushartha? If Moksha is your Purushartha, make it a Nishchaya, Purushartha Nishchaya. That is called as Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. What is good for me? What is Shreyas for me? Moksha is the Shreyas for me, and I go for Moksha. It doesn't matter if I have to play my roles in this life. I'm not going to go away, run away from life. Artha kamas are also important. Not that I can live without artha, without kama. Yes, that is also important. But what is my priority? My priority is moksha purushartha. In spite of artha kamas, artha and kama and dharma are going to take a secondary importance, and my primary importance, the main goal of my life is going to be moksha purushartha, that I want to be free from this samsara. This is my main goal. This was called as vyavasayatmika buddhi in the third chapter in Bhagavad Gita, and that is what here Bhagwan Shankaracharya also says, labdha labdva, having got this rare manushya janma, kathanchit nara janma durlabham, this durlabha manushya janma somehow I have got, tatrapi pumstvam, the capacity to hold on to it. A mind which is not an emotional mind, a mind which is not constantly clinging to ahankara mamakara, a mind which is not all the time depending upon others for its security. Such a mind is called, as a weak mind, whereas a pumstvam means a strong mind, a mind which knows a vyavasayatmika buddhi nishchaya. Yes, in spite of everything, in spite of my profession, in spite of my being playing the role of a householder, ultimately my ultimate goal in this life is moksha purushartha. Whether it happens or not doesn't matter. I am going to start, and I am going to persist, and I am going to continue. This holding on to my Purushartha Nishchaya strongly, very, very strongly, committedly, and not trying to get bored within a few days and stopping my study, stopping my involvement with study of the Shastra through the Guru. Not that. A person who has got this capacity and the strength of the mind, the capacity of the mind to hold on to the pursuit of moksha purushartha. Such a mind is called as a pumstvam, the manliness or the strength of the mind. It can be there for a man also, for a woman also. A man can also have a very, very weak mind. A woman can have a strong mind. Here, pumstvam does not indicate the gender of the person. It indicates the capacity and the strength of the mind to persist and pursue the moksha purushartha. So, pumstvam Shruti Paradarshanam. Shruti Paradarshanam means what? I am exposed to this in this culture. Correct? Am I not? We are born in a culture where we are exposed to the Shastra. Right from our childhood, we have been exposed to the Vedas in the form of shlokas, in the form of of various like Shankaracharya stotra, so many stotras and shlokas and this, and we are exposed to this. There is Shruti Paradarshanam. In the sense, Shruti Paradarshanam means I know what it is. I know that there is an available source of knowledge. I'm exposed to this knowledge right from my childhood. And I know what it is. I know what it can give me. In spite of that, in spite of being born in this culture, in spite of having this daily, we see in our own homes, we have grown up with our parents, with our grandparents, with our family members, where probably chanting of the Vedas, discussion on the Vedas, Upanishadic teachings, pujas, everything. We are used to that. We are exposed to this right from our childhood. We have got this exposure to this, and we have this exposure to the Vedas. We know what it is, we know what it can give us. And a person would have even studied probably the Veda Purva. A person may be adept in chanting various kind of suktas and various Upanishads and various other things. The Veda Purva, I may be able to chant Rudra, Chamakam, this, that, everything may be able to chant. When I have got this much of exposure to the Vedas, especially the Veda Purva, then if I do not utilize the teaching of the Vedas in the form of Vedanta, the ultimate teaching of the Vedas, if I don't utilize, he says in the third line, Yaha Svatma Muktau na yateta. If a person doesn't strive for freedom from this samsara in this life, who is he? Moodhadhi he. He is a deluded person, a person who has a deluded intellect. He has the Daivanugraha, Hetukam, Manushatvam is there, Mumukshutvam is there, Mahapurusha Samshraya is there, the teacher Guru is there, Shruti Paradarshanam, exposure to this knowledge in some form or the other, in some form or the other. All of us are exposed in our culture and in our families in this, to this knowledge. And in spite of all this, if I do not use it to benefit me, if I don't benefit from that, such a person, Acharya Shankara calls as Moodhadihi. In Bhajagovindam, what does he say? Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam, Bhogovindam, Bhaja Moodhamate. Govindam Bhaja means take recourse to the Shastra. Bhajagovindam means please surrender to the Shastra and learn what the Shastra has to say. Hey Moodhamate, hey deluded intellect. So here, a person who has got all these kripas, Ishvara kripa is there, Guru kripa is there, Shastra kripa is there. But if I do not utilize it, if Atma kripa is not there, having all these things with me, Yasvatma Muktau na yateta, the one who doesn't try to get this knowledge, the one who doesn't try to, you know, strive for this knowledge. We have to strive because nothing comes easy. Even Artha Kama, we have to struggle. We have to strive for this. It doesn't come easily. Sukha also doesn't come easily. Then why is it that we have such a difficulty in striving for Atmajnanam? What are our scriptures trying to tell us? You understand who you are. You understand the nature of the universe, of the Jagat, the nature of Ishvara, and you know who you are. That is the answer to all your problems. And that is what our Shastra says. Why is there so much hesitation for us to strive for this knowledge? We strive for everything else in the Jagat, however difficult may be. But here, that which is going to permanently release me from samsara, that which is going to transform me from a samsari to a mukta purusha, such a knowledge I don't want to strive for. What is this kind of an obstacle or obstruction, or where is the block here? That is what he's saying. This is a deluded intellect. This such a person who doesn't strive for this. Sahi atmaha swam vinihanti asadgrahat. But he says such a person can be called as a suicidal person. Why is he called as a suicidal person? Because an opportunity that is there in this human life, an opportunity that is there, which has come just in our hands, it has come an opportunity. And I don't utilize an opportunity which has come my way. And if I have the Shastra and Guru and Ishvara Anugraha, just because I lack the Atma Anugraha or lack the Atma Kripa, I don't make use of all these things, then what am I? He says, Atmaha. It is like a person committing suicide. Na ihached avedi Mahati Vinashti, says there's Upanishad called Kenopanishad, which says that if you understand this life is worth it. If you do not understand this in this life, you don't know what kind of a life you will be born with next time. Darwin's theory of evolution in science does not apply in our scriptures. This time I am a human being born out in this body out of punya. Next life, when this body falls and dies, Where I am going to come, in which body, in which form I am going to come, I do not know. It depends upon my sanchita karma. It depends upon what karma is about to fructify, a part of the sanchita karma which is about to fructify. All these things care of tattva bodha. You have to read what is sanchita karma, what is agam. We have already seen that in Bhagavad Gita also. So what kind of a body I'm going to embody in my next life, I do not know. Therefore, if in this life, when I have got manushatvam, mumukshutvam, mahapurusha samshrayam, pumstvam, shruti paradarshanam, when all these things are there, if I'm not going to make use of the Shastra knowledge, Shastra Jnanam, to free myself from samsara, it is like my committing suicide. And now, from the next verse onwards, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is going to talk about what is this knowledge and what is the meaning of inquiry, inquiring into this knowledge. Now, having a source of knowledge is not sufficient. One has to inquire into that, isn't it? A source of inquiry is necessary. Having a book of mathematics or physics is not sufficient. It is there in front of me, Shastra. But I have to study that. I have to inquire into it in a proper way, in a methodical way. I have to inquire into this. Therefore, here also it is said that I have to use the Shastra as a mirror, Shastra Darpana, and I have to go to the Shastra and do what is called as the enquiry or vichara. I have to go to the Vedas. I have to go to Vedanta scriptures, but I have to do what is called as Vedanta vichara. Why do we go to Shastra? Because we want to do enquiry. For example, I'll give you an example. I look into the mirror. Do I look into the mirror for the sake of the mirror? No. Why do I look into the mirror? Because I can see my reflection in it. To see my reflection, I make use of the mirror. Similarly, I make use of the Shastra as a mirror to see myself, to see what is my reality, what is my true nature. Here, when I look into the mirror is not important. What the mirror shows me is important. Similarly, here in Shastra also, the words of the Shastra may have their own place, but what those words of the Shastra reveal to me, that is important. And this can be made out only by a serious enquiry into the Shastra. So here, Bhagwan Shankaracharya says that the only way of understanding this knowledge, that is Atmajnanam, whatever is the summary of Vedas or the ultimate message of Vedas is this Atmajnanam. For that, I have to do Atma Vichara. No other thing is going to help me. Supposing I want to study mathematics or physics, I have the Shastra in front of me. Whatever else I do, I may do puja to the book. I may chant some shlokas. I may keep the book under my head and sleep, but that is not going to give me the knowledge. What gives me knowledge? I have to inquire into the Shastra. Only that is going to give me knowledge. Similarly, here, what he says is inquiring into what the Shastra is talking about regarding this knowledge is what is necessary. No other activities are going to help me in understanding who I am. For Atma Jnana, Atma Vichara has to be done via Shastra Vichara only. Nothing else is going to help. That is what is going to be told in the 6th verse of Vivekachudamani. We will just read it. We may not have enough time to discuss it. We can discuss it next time. पठन्तु शास्त्राणि यजन्तु देवान् कुर्वन्तु कर्माणि भजन्तु देवता आत्मैक्यबोधेन विना विमुक्तिः न सिद्ध्यति ब्रह्मशतान्तरेऽपि. So what is the meaning of this? Superficially, just transliterating the verse, it only means Pathantu Shastrani. You may chant, you may read the Shastras, different Shastras. I may be a scholar in, Tarka Shastra. I may be a scholar in Vyakarana Shastra. I may be a scholar in Nirukta Shastra. I may be, a scholar in all the Apara Vidyas. Our Mundaka Upanishad says that there are two types of sources of knowledge, two types. Aparavidya and Paravidya. All the Laukika knowledge, which only causes more bondage in me, that is called as Aparavidya. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. We have to know. We are here as human beings. We have to know other branches of knowledge also. So, all the other branches of knowledge which don't talk to me about my own nature, my own swarupam, but about everything else, that is called as Aparavidya. And what is Paravidya? That knowledge which tells me who I really am. That knowledge which shows me my true self, what I am. This is what is called as Paravidya. So what here he says is, Bhagwan Shankaracharya, Pathantu Shastrani. I may be a scholar in various Shastras. I might have read and I may be able to rattle off and by heart the entire Veda Purva or entire so many other Shastras. I may be able to this. Yajantu Devan. I may be doing so many, Ishta karmas in the form of yagas, yajnas, the whole Veda Purva. Veda Purva tells me what all I can do to attain what. You want to have progeny? Okay, there are methods to have progeny. You want to have more money? Yes, there are karmas to do more money, to have more money. You want to have a better loka after death, you want to go to higher lokas? Yes, there are so many karmas, there are so many yajnas which can be done to get whatever. You want to get brahmavarchas, that shine on your face? Yes, for that also you have got so many karmas, yagas, yajnas you can. You want to have a teacher or a sannyasi wants to have more students, more shishas? Yes, for that also there are homas, there are also. So there are Veda Purva talks about thousands of sadhanas for various sadhyas. For various goals, various means are there. Our Veda Purva talks about that. So, I may do all kinds of yajantu means yajnas and yagas and various Vaidika karmas I may do. Doesn't matter. Do it. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I want to achieve something dharmically and I want to achieve that. I do patantu shastrani yajantu devan kurvantu karmani purta karmas. I may do all kind of altruistic activities to help others, loka kalyanarthe, like helping people, social service, whatever I may do those. Bhajantu devata, upasanas I may do. I may worship the devatas as for for upasana, various kinds of upasanas I may do. But ultimately, what Bhagwan says is here, Atmaikya bodhena vida vimukti na siddhyati. In spite of all these things, they are good. Not that they should not be done. We should not mistake that they are not necessary. They are necessary. But how necessary are they? How long are they necessary? For what purpose we should know. All these Ishtakarmas, Purtakarmas, Upasanas, prayers, they are necessary. They have to be done. But then, to what extent they are useful? How long they are useful? How far they are useful? We have to understand that. But whatever else they may give you everything, but what I am, this atma jnanam is not given. Atmaikya bodha, to see my real nature, who I am, who is this jiva, what is this jiva, what is this atma, as described by Bhagwan Krishna in the second chapter, the 12th to the 25th verses, the atma swarupam. To know my nature as that Atma Swarupam, Atma Aikya Bodha, to know myself, this Jiva, as nothing but that Atma, I need to surrender only to Vedanta. Only the inquiry into the scriptures, Vedantic inquiry, Shastra Vichara, Atma Vichara, to understand what I am. That is the only thing which will give me this. Nothing else will give me. I can do the other things. Not that our scriptures are trying to tell us it is useless. There is always a fear that these kind of verses may be misinterpreted by people. It is not true. Everything has its role. Upasana has its role. Prayers have their role. Ishtakarmas have their role. Purtakarmas have their role. What Bhagwan Shankaracharya is telling, they have their own role. They will give you what they can give you, but ultimately they cannot give you this Atmajnanam. For Atmajnanam, one has to do Vedanta Vichara, Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam, Guru Mukhena Shastra Adhyayanam. Only that is going to ultimately give me the real knowledge of myself. So, Atma Vicharam Kuru, Shastra Vicharam Kuru, ultimately. Do all these things. They have a role. We'll see this verse in detail next time. But then ultimately, what one has to surrender to is to this Shastra Pramana, to this means of knowledge which is called as Shastra, which alone is going to show me what I really am, which alone is going to be successful in removing my dukkha or samsara. With this, we'll stop here. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.